You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Hey entrepreneurs, it's your Podcast Mogul Phil Better here. I am excited for this episode as I know you are. Before we jump into this episode, I'm going to ask you if you are also a podcaster and you're looking to grow your podcast or monetize your podcast, make sure you stay till the end of the episode. I have a special deal for you, or a special offer, if you will. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump into the episode.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am excited to have an amazing guest today that is like leading the forefront for podcasters in the AI world. They are the co-founder and CEO of Capsho, an amazing method to the fastest way to market and grow your podcast. And she is literally using it to grow her podcast, grow my podcast show. Please put your hands together for Deirdre Tshien. Deirdre, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Phil. So honored to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy because I know how useful Capsho is, and when you agreed to come onto the podcast, I was like, yes, I get to promote this amazing tool that's like you guys say, you're the first and best in the market, and you're constantly improving. Just recently, you had the stressful launch of Capsho 2.0, which we're going to get into. But I want to go back to the beginning. Just give us a quick introduction, like where you went from to how we got to launching an AI-powered content marketer for podcasts. Yeah,
for sure. Oh gosh, I mean, I've been in entrepreneurship for like a decade now, which seems crazy. But I'm gonna fast forward through a lot of that and sort of land on when I started my first podcast, and that was 3 years ago with a coaching business that I had. So we had a digital marketing agency that was helping e-commerce businesses, and COVID hit. We had to rethink our business model, and so we transitioned that business into a coaching business. And like what happens all the time, we struggled with the whole build it and they will come, because that's what we did, and we built it, and I was like, surely we will just be flooded with people, and that didn't happen. And so I was speaking to a mentor of mine, and he was like, okay, well, if you're going to enter this coaching space, and you need to become an expert, you need to become known for what it is that you do and what you help clients with. And so he told me that I had to start publishing. And this was foreign to me because in my previous businesses, we had grown off the back of social media, specifically Instagram, because, you can imagine 10 years ago, they were also just growing. So we were able to really ride that wave of their growth. And so I was like, oh, what is this publishing thing by way of longer form content? And he was like, well, a great place to start is a podcast. He had a podcast himself. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know anything about podcasting, but I'll give it a go. I got this $53 microphone off Amazon, and I had no idea how to do anything, like to the point where, because I didn't know how to edit, I would, if I made a mistake, I would stop the recording and then re-record all over again because I didn't know how to cut things out and piece things together, right? Like that was how much of a newbie I was to podcasting.
That's the painful days. I remember those days.
Exactly. Because it's overwhelming to, when you enter this space and you're hit with, the likes of just like these, like so many buttons and so many, and it's not intuitive, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So anyway, that was my starting point, my first foray into podcasting. And honestly, I started, and again, I thought, okay, well, I've been told that I do this, and I always trust, I'm very coachable, and I'm like, well, why isn't this working? Why is my listen not growing, and why am I not getting the leads and the conversions that, quote unquote, I was promised I would get, which is never, that you're never promised anything, by the way. But that was, that was the internal struggle, the monologue that we have with ourselves. And I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. I have to make this thing work because, and by the way, growing a podcast, I didn't realize this at the time, but now I know now, is like growing a business. And so at the time I was like, this is ridiculous. Why am I trying to grow? I'm already trying to grow a business. Why am I also trying to grow a podcast? It just seemed counterintuitive. But then when I started to really delve deeply into it and figure it out and really be intentional with what it was I was trying to get the podcast to do, it started making so much more sense. That was when I created, it was from that experience I created my content dripping strategy, my content honey trap strategy, all of that is, by the way, built into Capsho. Like that, we've built all of our human marketing intelligence into this AI tool so that people don't have to struggle through that anymore. But I was going through this and I was like, how do I make this thing work? And I got it to the point where it was September 2020. And so that was probably 4 or 5 months into, close to 6 months probably, from when I launched my podcast. And it was the first month, it was the third time we had launched our coaching offer. And it was the first month that we actually made over 5 figures. So we did $25,000-ish that month.
Oh.
Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, and I was very, very coolly, of course, because I'm like, I would speak to my clients, my new clients. I'm like, this is the best decision that you've made, one. But just out of curiosity, asking for a friend, what made you decide to invest? A lot of them were actually, they said, I found your podcast, and I followed, your blogs and your YouTube videos, and you give so much value that I felt guilty for not paying you. Right. And I was like, everything started falling into place for me. And I was like, okay, this whole, having publishing, so getting known and finding a way to have that be discovered, but then using a tool like podcasting and all of the content that you can create off the back of it is such a great way to build that strong know, like, and trust. You're nurturing them so solidly into your offer, because by the time they get on a sales call, it's not even really a sales call. They just want to know the price and how it works. And then it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, because that, and I go into, I can talk about this stuff for ages, but, the psychology of that law of reciprocity and things like all of that marketing psychology, like the podcasting is such a powerful tool to actually lean into so much of that. And so once I did, then it was like, okay, well, this is great, but I can't keep doing this. It is a lot of work when you're doing everything basically from scratch. Even though I had my podcast and all of the content that I was creating, was anchored in that podcast, it's still a lot of work to turn that into a blog post that is optimized for search. It's a lot to turn that into a YouTube video that specifically is for YouTube. It's a lot to create, my social media content off the back. Like, it still took a lot of work to the point where I actually had someone in my team leave. Like, she was burnt out, and I didn't realize this, right? I didn't realize that this was happening, but it was burning us out. And so I was like, this got to be a smarter way to do this. And that's how Capsho really came about. We launched, so we started working on this, end of 2021, end of 2021 into 2022. And we launched our beta sort of in June of 2022, went live mid-July 2023 and 2022.
I'm like, wow, it's already,
Yeah.
I'm talking to the future. Oh my God.
But yeah, that's kind of how we set out to solve the problem that we ourselves face, which is I have a podcast, which is great, but how do I actually effectively market and grow that podcast so that I can actually grow my business? That's what we do.
I love it because looking at it, you were solving a problem that you had. You had someone burn out. You had a whole team, and one of your members burned out because it was too much work. So thinking about those solo podcasters that are doing everything on their own and not growing, it's even with a team, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I love that Capsho just comes in, does the majority of the hard work, which is like, how do I write this blog? And then I can take that blog afterwards and make it more personalized with my touch. I get the skeleton, and then I just have to add the meat and bones to it.
Yeah.
Since you use it internally, obviously you use it with your Grow My Podcast. Have you seen like a better uptick of downloads and listeners and growth by?
Yeah. 100%, yes. And actually, it's more powerful if I talk about some of our clients or some of our users, our Capshovians. So I actually there's J.R. Sparrow, for example. He's so lovely. He DMs me all the time, just randomly, and he'll just like send me a screenshot. And I'm like, thank you. I don't really know how to look at it. But so the last one he sent me, he's a little bit of a tech nerd himself, so he loves to check out new tech. And we since the advent of ChatGPT and we've had a lot of quote unquote competitors directly in our space, and he was like, we tried one of your competitors, and so the screenshot was his 7 days. So he releases an episode. I think it's actually twice a week, but he had one. It was a graph, and he was like, "I tried your competitor. I won't say the name. On this episode, it was 19 downloads that he got." And he was like, "And then I tried Capsho. That was the next episode that he tried. 1,223 downloads that he got."
That's a very big difference. I would love to have seen if he re-released the episode he used with the competitor.
Yeah, the
Capsho, and see if there was a difference. But that is still 19 to like over 100 downloads an episode is massively different. And to a podcaster, that's if only one person clicks on an affiliate link and buys something, that's a better ratio than only having 19 people and with no one clicking on that link.
Yeah. So that's an example. And I've got countless others. Actually, talking about one that was re-released. So Jerry, he actually, when he first started using Capsho, he actually tried it on an old episode of his. So I think on that old episode, it was like double single digits, like that download. And like when he first released it, and then he used it with Capsho, and I think he got over, I'm trying to remember the numbers now, but it was like 10 times, if not more, the number of downloads that he got. Just all he did was use the title and the description that Capsho gave him, and that immediately bumped up his numbers on the same episode.
That is so important because I can start using Capsho now. The audience, if they have their podcast, can start using Capsho now, even if they have a backlog. But then they can start using it to format the previous episodes and bring those previous golden nuggets up. So there's like benefit to a Capsho. How did you come up with the name? It's a very interesting name, and I'm guessing the show is like the show part is the show.
Yeah.
The first cap usually means like it's truthful on social media, like no cap. That's what the kids say today. I know it sounds horrible coming from like a 30-something-year-old trying to use the earlier generation or the next generation, whatever it is. But like, how did you come up with the name of Capsho?
Oh, I wish I had a better story, but I'm going to steal actually what you said. I'm going to start using that now. I'm going to be like, yeah, we're just cool. We're just that cool. That
Please do. I would love that if going forward, that's the story. I'm like, I have it recorded that it comes from my podcast.
Maybe we should change out. Maybe what we'll do is we'll put in like, we'll go no Capsho. No Capsho. That'll become our new.
No Capsho, is it?
Yeah, I seriously wish I had a better story, but it was literally like we were, so Bono, one of my co-founders, and I, we were, when we were living in New York, we would have this ritual where every Friday we would go get bagels for breakfast. So we were just walking, and it was like, we were really struggling with like, what is the thing that, we can name this thing. And I was starting playing. I was just playing with words in my head, like, obviously show, and then like capturing a show, like, it was just these words. And then I just started like putting them together as you do. And that's how Capsho came about. So, really, because what our tool does is that it captures the essence of what it is that you are trying to promote. Our whole thing is we are here to help you amplify your message. And so, capturing or no cap, it is, it is going to find the truth in your show.
There we go. We're moving to the
Yeah.
Lean in. It's not that I was walking and just trying to capture a show's essence. No, we wanted to ensure that it was no cap on your show.
So, yeah, that's a cool story.
Yeah, a few stories. It's no cap. That's not what we did.
No cap. Exactly.
Because we're so hip. Where do you see the industry of podcasting? Because podcasting as its current form is very young. It's only like 20 years old since Steve Jobs came out in 2004. It was like podcasts. But we know it's been at least since the 80s with audio blogs and that. So it's still like between 20 to 40 years old. It's pretty much a millennial, if you will, still trying to find its legs. Where do you see us going in podcasting? Because we're in the same industry. I'm interested to know, where do you see it going?
Yeah, it's kind of, I have this just more broadly, and I know we're going to speak about AI and things like that. But just, I do have a bit of a dystopian view of where we're headed with AI. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think that's very quickly going to make its way into podcasting. And why I say that this is because I've done a lot of thinking about this. Being in AI, obviously Capsho is powered by AI. And so I had to think about it and be really intentional with like, what is our stance? What do we believe AI, like how do we want to be, representing creators, humans, in the face of where AI is heading. And we're already seeing it and I call it, black hat businessing, or, it's where basically from that perspective, people are trying to basically borrow, if I say borrow, someone else's expertise, or borrow because they can, right? Like you can go into ChatGPT now and you can, ask it, tell me how, like XYZ, like how, make me an expert in podcast growth or launching a podcast. And ChatGPT can give you the things, and you can very well have it script something, and then you can have an AI voice actor read the script, and then you have an episode essentially. And so I don't believe in that being, I should say, I don't want that to be the future of AI, of podcasting. But I can see it very easily becoming the future of podcasting, which is that it is going to essentially not be more. And okay, so there's two parts to that. There's like the bit where it's like what is going to probably happen, but then there's a bit that is like what is quality, like what will people care about? 100%, there's going to be way more podcasts. There's going to be way more content. I call it the content vomit now on the internet, because it's just that easy to create and put things out there. And I shouldn't even say create as from a, like have AI create something and put it out there. There's going to be so much of that now, that content vomit out there. Now, humans, like will us as consumers care about that? That's still to be seen, actually. Like that's the bit that I'm actually really curious about. So it's not so much about, where are we heading from a creator space? Because I do fundamentally believe that we need to hold on to our humanity. We need to be creating. And that's how we built Capsho and 2.0 that you mentioned. Like that's the whole reason why we launched Capsho 2.0, because we saw this coming. And so there's one part of it, but then the other part is like, I wonder how consumers, like, will they care? That's the bit that I don't know yet when we talk about the future, because I would like to think that we will care, right? I would like to think that fundamentally, because I'm a huge believer in this, that, podcasting is such an awesome tool to create connections because, it's like the closest, something's like close to the brain, etc. But it's also because we connect because I have this Aussie accent and I say and like all the time, and I get really excited talking about marketing, nerdy marketing things, and people connect with that. And others won't. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, this person is so annoying." She, X, Y, Z, but she'll connect with you instead, or someone else. Or they'll connect with someone else, But that's okay. That's because it's in our voice, it's in our intonation, even the way that we write. That's how that connection is built. That's what I fundamentally believe, but I also, jury's still out, I think, around whether that's true, around whether at the end of the day, the consumers are going to be able to pick up on that, know that it's actually AI or not AI, because it's just going to become smarter, and B, whether or not they'll care. So that, I don't know.
See, I have the same thing. Like I'm thinking creative in general is at risk with AI, because like you can see the AI videos coming out now that like create a whole TV, and you have Unreal Engine coming out, which is just really next level. And then even with the AI deepfakes with the voices, that's all you need with like something like the script. You have 15 minutes and you now have, I can copy your voice and be like, oh, look, Deirdre said this about all her competitors. And it's like, no, I can swear it's not me.
Yeah.
So I see that there is that fear. Like I have that fear as well, because it's losing, if we can copy someone's voice, where is the ownership? How do we own ourselves? And I kind of see maybe blockchain coming in, because it's a secure contract. You can use blockchain with NFTs to secure your voice and secure your likeness, so that everybody can be a creative and you can rent the voice and it's an authentic voice. I think something like that for podcasters and others, like corporations can now pay to have you speak on behalf of their business, and you don't necessarily have to be there, because they can just pay for the rights to use your voice. And that's a possibility. I think that I like more, because then everybody's secure, and you can say whether or not it's truthful. But I share the same fear too, because we're at a tipping point.
Really?
Are we going to go for good, or are we going to go for money with
Yes.
Speaking of AI, I want to talk about AI. How did you get roped into AI?
I have actually always been fascinated by it. So my background, I've been in corporate for before I was an entrepreneur for many, many years. Anyway, I can't even count. And I was actually working in a bank. So it's called Macquarie Bank based in Australia. It's the biggest investment bank actually in Australia. And I was actually in the innovation team. And part of my role was actually to explore new technologies like AI, like blockchain, for example, and see and assess the use cases for banking, for Macquarie specifically. And so I'd been exposed to it for a while. At the time, obviously, AI was very gated. It was very in its infancy. We were actually working with a Canadian-based business, an AI consulting business, to try to come up with these use cases. But it was very use case based in terms of like, okay, there's a specific thing that it needs to do, and we need to almost build a whole machine, an engine around like just for that use case, which is very different to now with generative AI. It's, it's very broad, and, you can have it do a lot of things. And so that was my first foray into AI. Since then, obviously, I kind of followed my own path in entrepreneurship and wasn't in AI in any stretch of the imagination through that journey until it was like, we're trying to solve this particular, again, use case, this pain point. And it was like, well, it makes total sense to use AI for this. And so that's how I kind of came, I knew about it years ago.
You heard about when it was a baby just being born, and now while it's a child, more teenager, you're like, I can now use this for my day to save it. I want to go before I get to the spark question. You mentioned some great memories and some great case studies about how competitors, one of your clients or customers, or probably a friend at this point, shared what happened with a previous episode and a past episode. But if a podcaster or a business owner is looking to use Capsho or podcasting, do you have a tip for them? Because you've grown a couple shows now using without Capsho and with Capsho.
Yes.
So maybe a tip to get the most out of Capsho if you're a podcaster.
Yeah, I think, especially if you're an expert who podcasts, and I'm not sure, Phil, is it basically mainly
Let's go with expert. This is for aspiring entrepreneurs, but also entrepreneurs to learn about the tools that are out there.
Great. Okay, perfect. Because Capsho is designed specifically for entrepreneurs who podcast. And we're very, very intentional about that because of how we built, like all the nerdy marketing things that we built into it. Yeah, it's, because it is for entrepreneurs. And, but it really is super powerful when you can be clear on a few things. So one is your audience, and I think we all know that. It's like, know your avatar, but really specifically audience. But we don't stop there because it's one thing to know your audience, but then still be like, and again, I talk about this example all the time, but Jerry, who I mentioned, so he knows his audience, his particular avatar inside out, right? Faith-based dads, because he's one himself. He was like, I know what they're thinking. I know what they need in their life. And, basically, so then he was like, but what he talks about is everything from faith to finance to fitness to family that's things that almost everyone else cares about too. It's, it's not, so knowing your audience is one thing, but you really need to know what specific content you're talking about. Because when you do, and the practical reason for this is because when we then talk about discoverability, and specifically discoverability through search, the search engines are still relatively rudimentary from their machines and algorithm perspective. They can only really bucket you in like one thing. So if you start talking about a whole host of things, it will not actually be able to say, hey, Phil is credible in this one thing, because this is the only thing he talks about, and this is the only thing that he talks to others about or gets promoted for. And so it's really, really important that you know who you're talking to and you know what you're talking to about. And if you know that, then I think the content, the rest of it falls, I think, when we know who we're talking to, what we're talking about, the topics, they're there for you. And if they're not, use ChatGPT. That's an easy one to be like, what are some topic ideas for this particular audience and this particular, content type. And then basically, because once you do that, then the machines, and Capsho is also a machine, can make it so much. It can just amplify. It can just make that like next level it for you. And so that would be the one tip: podcasting in general, but also how to use Capsho, because again, Capsho is leveraging marketing fundamentals. So yeah, get those fundamentals right, and Capsho will be amazing.
I love that. And it's true for just with Capsho or not, having your fundamentals, knowing exactly who you're talking to will help you in the long term, because it's just SEO is still going to be needed because people are still going to search, even if AI is coming in. You need to have that great content. So happy to have you on, Deirdre. But we're going to go to the spark question. My audience knows it's from Seek Discomfort. So how do you like to recharge your energy?
A walk. I like to walk, yeah. And like put my headphones in, either listen to a podcast or just listen to music. If I'm really brain dead or like I'm really low in energy, then I'll just put music on and just walk. Yeah.
I do the exact same. Before our interview, I had a walk, so I'm all nice and relaxed and ready for it. Deirdre, I'm going to jump off stage here. Please let my audience know where they can find Capsho, where they can find you, how they can support you, and of course, find your podcast if they're want to grow their podcast?
Yeah, of course. So thank you so much. And I hope you found this helpful. Check out Capsho. So that's CAPSHO.com. We are an AI-powered podcast content writer. So in under 10 minutes, once you upload your audio or video file, it will create your title, description, podcast website content, social media captions, email, blog post, LinkedIn article, YouTube description, and it pulls out quotes for you. All of that in under 10 minutes. And then you can go ahead and make your edits and publish it. So that's at capsho.com, CAPSHO.com. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm Deirdre Tshien on almost all the channels. I'm most active on either LinkedIn or Facebook. So come, connect with me there. Let me know that you found me on Phil's podcast. And I'd love to see how else I can help you.
Awesome, Deirdre. I can't thank you enough for coming on, sharing your story, sharing your tool with the greater world, because you could have kept this internal and just used it evilly and just became a titan of podcasting, if you will. So I thank you very much for sharing this, sharing your story with my audience today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was an honor and a privilege to be here.
Thank you. To my audience, check out the show notes down below. You'll find links to Capsho, no cap. It's the real link. And remember to always invest in yourself. Hey, digital entrepreneurs, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Now, if you're looking to take your podcast to the next level, like most of these entrepreneurs have taken their business to the next level, to scale it, if you will, make sure you check out my brand new newsletter. Links are down below. It is called the Monetization Mogul Syndicate newsletter, or it could be Phil Better Stories of Monetization Moguls, or Making Moguls. This is what I do. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. But I want to thank you very much for listening. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.